Huckleberry.
All right. So, good evening and welcome to the Mercedes City Commission regular meeting of November 19th, 2024. It is 6:30 PM. I now call this meeting to order. First, second, I will be establishing a quorum. I have Commissioner Martinez. I have Dr. Commissioner Saldana. I have Commissioner Garcia and Dr. Commissioner Howell. And we do have a quorum, a full commission. Next I'll have the invocation, Doc Howell, do you don't mind, sir?
Yes, of course. We can bow our heads. In the book of 2 Chronicles 1, it says, "Give me wisdom and knowledge that may lead this people for who able to govern this great people of yours." Lord Jesus, may you continue to bless and help our citizens, city employees, and all who are under your kingdom and community. In the name of Jesus, we pray.
Amen. Also, in the spirit of an invocation, if you guys keep the Castañeda family, the graduate of Mercedes has lost his daughter, and it's been a rough week in death, so just pray for the families that lost somebody out there. Pledge of allegiance, if you don't mind, Commissioner Martinez.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, gentlemen. Have anybody for open forum? Okay, just go to item number 6, presentations. First of all, we're going to do a proclamation for Miss Abriana Galindo. Stand up over here if you want to. Thank you. All right, I'm going to read this out, Abriana, but before I do, it's always an honor for us to have people from Mercedes represent us. I think it's a special honor when young ladies represent in bigger things like what's going on here today. It's important when anybody does, but you should be very proud at a young age to be where you're at and doing what you're doing. You should be very proud of your parents being there for you. I know your mom did a good job of selling this project. When I read that, I was like, how do you say no to that, right? So I think you're blessed, and the best thing you can do to honor that, to honor your city, to honor your parents, is to keep on doing what you're doing and keeping your nose straight and keep doing what, to get you further and further. So you got the smarts, you got the looks. Now it's just a matter of getting to the next level, right? So thank you for representing us, and I know you're going to do a good job, and I'm going to go ahead and read the proclamation, okay? City of Mercedes, Office of the Mayor, and the entire commission, by the way, it's a proclamation honoring Abriana Galindo for her selection as an All-American cheerleader representing Mercedes High School in the 2024 Pearl Harbor Memorial Parade. And whereas Abriana Galindo, daughter of Adrian and Carmen Sauceda, and a dedicated cheerleader at Mercedes High School, has achieved the prestigious title of All-American Cheerleader, awarded by the National Cheerleaders Association. And whereas Abriana earned her place among the top 12% of cheerleaders and dancers nationally, receiving this esteemed recognition based on her exemplary skill, leadership, and dedication to her sport. And whereas in an All-American cheerleader, Abriana will join other outstanding athletes from across the country in representing Varsity Spirit and Mercedes High School at the 2024 Pearl Harbor Memorial Parade on December 7th, 2024 in Honolulu, Hawaii. And very special here, commemorating the 83rd anniversary of Pearl Harbor's attack. And whereas Abriana participation in the Pearl Harbor Memorial Parade will honor our nation's veterans as she performs alongside her fellow All-Americans on the historic Waikiki Beach, a tribute to their service and sacrifice. And whereas this unique opportunity will provide Abriana with memorable experiences, including visiting the Pearl Harbor Memorial and the USS Missouri battleship, participating in a traditional Hawaiian luau, and connecting with fellow All-Americans from across the country. And whereas Abriana has expressed her pride in representing her school, her city, and her country in this event, and she is honored to participate in the ceremony that pays tribute to our veterans. Now therefore, I, Oscar Montoya, Mayor of the City of Mercedes, Texas, by the virtue of the authority vested in me and on behalf of City Commissioner Dr. Saldana, Dr. Howell, Commissioner Martinez, Commissioner Garcia, do hereby recognize Rabriana Galindo for her exceptional achievement and for representing Mercedes High School and our community with pride, skill, and dedication. We commend her for embodying the spirit of excellence and leadership and inspires us all. And we extend our best wishes for a memorable and meaningful experience to Honolulu. Congratulations, Sabriana. Just remember before you go, boys are bad. Bad. Stay away from them. Hey, do you mind if we take a picture with you?
Mayor. One, two, and three.
Wear that at the parade.
Like Star Wars, right?
One, two, and three. One, two, and three. One, two, three.
Yeah. Oh, man, she's taking half the. I thought they were here to watch us. I guess not.
Half the audience.
All right. So before we move on to the next one, I'm going to move up. I know we have an ordinance, and it should be a
11A.
short presentation. Item number 11A, ordinance resolution present, discuss, consider, possibly take action regarding it's a postponed from last meeting approval resolution 2024-34, authorizing the resale of foreclosed real estate properties for failure to pay the ad valorem tax.
Do we need to make a motion to bring the item up, or are we good like that, Mayor?
No, I think we can just go on it, right? Because it's on here. Yeah,
Just a
need a
motion for action.
motion.
Make a motion,
I'll
Mayor, to
I'll
go ahead
second
and
it.
approve.
Okay, I have a motion by, and we forego the reading.
Forego the reading, yes, for.
I have a motion by
Resolution
Commissioner Martinez
2024-34.
to approve item 11A and forego the reading of the resolution. I have a second by Dr. Howell. Any discussion?
Woody's had a very great presentation, a few weeks ago. So I think we're pretty informed with the information.
All those in favor say aye.
All right,
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Romeo. Moving on to item 6B, presentation by the Parks Director.
5 minutes. I'm gonna do my best, sir. I'll do my best. I have no promises. Good evening, Mayor, Commission, City Manager. For the record, my name is Armando Villela. I'm the Parks Director here for the City of Mercedes. City Manager had asked me to do just a quick assessment on some of the stuff that I found in my time with Mercedes.
Yes.
I'm currently completing my 3rd month at the end of the month here, so been kind of just assessing the parks, taking inventory of what we have out there, starting the process of getting some things, repaired and replaced. So I'm gonna go through this PowerPoint presentation. I believe you guys may also have the presentation in front of you.
Is that in the
So first, just the facilities, right? The 7 facilities that Mercedes has right now is, HEB Park, the Mercedes Dome, the Walter Collier Sports Complex, Saladino Park, Hinojosa Park, Las Flores del Valle Park, and Goza Park. I have them kind of categorized there. Those 4 parks I would consider, neighborhood parks. The other 3, Walter Collier is considered a sports complex. Mercedes Dome, the plan is to hopefully establish that into a future sports complex as well, in HEB Park. I have there in parentheses, possible destination, events park. From what I've seen in my time here, we host a lot of events there at the HEB Park. So I'll talk a little more about that. So I'm going to start there, kind of just a bit of inventory, right, of what we have: 2 play structures, standalone swing bays, shaded exercise equipment, the walking trail, which is about 0.6 of a mile in total. We have the amphitheater there, the civic center, the restrooms, obviously. So that stuff is just, part of the inventory that we have. Some of the stuff that I've been talking with our park staff, right, is trying to get ourselves back to compliance. One thing that I've noticed, and that's with all our facilities, is that we have several playground components, pieces of equipment, structures that are not compliant based on, NRPA standards, which is like a state standard for parks. So a lot of it is like surfacing. We have swing bays out there without surfacing, so those are things that we want to work on. Playground equipment that are lacking, surface, which is for the fall zone for the kids, right? So all that is safety. I will say that I'm real big on that, on the safety aspect of it, on trying to make sure that we do have safe parks, for all our users. Some of the things that I list there on things that we're working on, right, is obviously, like I mentioned, the master plan. I think that moving forward with the city manager, we'll start to, deciding which direction we're going to go to. One thing that I see, and like I said, in my short time here, is just I envision it kind of like a destination park for Mercedes. You have your amphitheater there. You can level off that ground. You can have special events, connecting sidewalks throughout the park, lighting the trail. Hopefully, I would recommend that we remodel the civic center to, increase those fees. Hopefully, draw more renters to that location, and obviously, include some other amenities. We do have 2 full court basketball courts that don't feel are utilized as much as they can be. So those are some of the things that we're going to work on as far as improving the stuff that is in the parks, removing the things that are not compliant, that are not safe, and then trying to fund projects that'll bring in new amenities to the park, right? So obviously, I think, we definitely need additional parking. The skate park, we're going to decide whether we're going to remove, relocate, or what we're going to do with that as well, right? So right now, those are some of the things that I've just kind of been doing, is working with our park supervisor also on him and us as a team being able to identify these things to where we don't get to a point to where we have unsafe equipment out there in the parks. Sorry.
Okay, well, thank you.
Yep. Stayed in my 5 minutes. Here.
Oh, this is
Go
good
ahead. Did
stuff.
you have others to show us?
Yes, sir. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I went the wrong way
No
there.
problem.
Jump there.
So the next would be the Mercedes Dome, right? Same thing. Walking trail out there is about roughly 1.5 miles in total length. 3 exercise stations, 2 shaded picnic areas, 1 playground, 2 to 12. The restroom that we have out there, and a covered basketball court, non-lighted, roughly 60 to 100. So some of the things that we are working on there as well is there's already a master plan, like a preliminary master plan. So one of the things that I like to do is just kind of update it. It seems like it's a little dated. I think we can add some other amenities there that I don't see in Mercedes that I see are growing in other cities, other municipalities. Disc golf is getting really big. Pickleball is getting really big. So those are other things that I think we can implement into the master planning, right? Right now, we currently do have a project going on at the Dome from Urban County, a lighting project that had already been finalized before my time. I made a few minor adjustments, and then we're just seeing the project through, and I'll talk about that.
You're going to talk about it, you said?
Yeah, I'm going to talk
Okay,
about
go
that a little more right now. Some of the things to consider here, right, in the master planning, I would say, is inclusivity. I think we need to be inclusive when it comes, to everybody, adults, seniors, kids, middle age, whatever the demographic is. I'd like to
Special
see.
needs.
Yeah, special needs, exactly. So, and that also goes to the accessibility, right? So having walkways, connecting sidewalks throughout the facilities, adequate parking, lighting, stuff like that. So I think it's kind of just, I would say it's an overall at all our facilities. I think we wouldn't, a lot of it's kind of going to be redundant. You're going to see some of the same stuff. Obviously, we want to, again, fix what's there, add more amenities, right? But a lot of it will be based on the facility. Neighborhood parks typically are considered neighborhood parks because you're inside a neighborhood. They don't typically have restrooms because you're close enough to walk to your house to use a restroom, right? So, for the dome, again, just finalizing the master plan. I know that there's a plan out there for sport fields. I'd like to get an idea of the demographic that we need to target, right? Because I know that Collier has 4 baseball fields. So right now I feel like we're lacking football. I don't know of any soccer fields that are city owned. So those are the kind of things that I would like to see included into the master planning of it. So there may be some things that we keep from the existing, and then obviously some things that we may add, some things that have changed, things that are getting a little more popular. One thing that I do think we need to do also is, possibly do like some community engagement and see what the people, would like to see out at the parks and kind of help guide us, in that aspect as well. I'm sorry, this thing stopped working on me again. Walter Collier, same thing. The acreage, we have the rec center, the Boys and Girls Club there, swimming pool with a kiddie pool, the restrooms, the 4 baseball, softball fields that I mentioned, concession stand with restrooms, 2 small playgrounds. That's another thing that I've noticed it's very consistent, is that we only have the same type of playground for that same age group. So a lot of cities will do usually your 2 to 12s, and then you'll have amenities for the older kids, what we call the tweens, right? They're not teens, they're not toddlers, they're kind of in between. I've seen areas where we have kind of the same structure side by side. Like at HEB Park, we have 2 identical 2 to 12. So that's one thing that I'm working on with the guys. One of those structures has been deemed, it's going to be expensive to get it back up to where it needs to be. So right now the thought is that we're going to shut it down and most likely remove it since it's not safe for the users. I did meet with a company that's already giving me pricing on what it would cost. I would like to see something different, not a playground with, for 2 to 12, maybe some kind of a climbing structure. If you go out to the playgrounds, you see these kids climbing on top of the playgrounds. They don't really use them for what they are, right? They use them more as a jungle gym kind of thing. So now they're making a lot more, obstacle courses, climbers, stuff like that. That's a little more on the newer side. That also is more to the healthy initiative, getting kids more active, not so much just swings and slides and stuff like that. So Walter Collier, again, things to consider there is also the field conditions. That's one of the things that I've been working with the guys. One thing I've been hearing a lot is baseball fields. They want to play baseball here in Mercedes, right? So we want to get the fields up to par. The guys are cutting out the infields. I'd like to get them to a point to where the fields are available all year long, not just in the baseball season.
Thank you.
I'd like to establish the ordinance for the fees so that we can rent out those fields also. So what I've been doing is I've been reaching out to neighboring cities, other contacts that I have, just to kind of get a feel of what they're charging for their fields, for the rental, for the lights, how are they handling it? And that way we can establish our ordinances for Mercedes as far as the rentals for the fields. So when they're not being used for league play or rec play, we can rent them out to other organizations, other cities that may want to use them. So these next 4, Goza, we can kind of flip through these. Las Flores, Goza, Saladino, and Hinojosa. Like I said, they're all neighborhood parks. I think y'all have the presentation. It has the information of the amenities that are currently there. For these parks, my vision, I would say, is that we would, neighborhood park, I envision a barbecue area, picnic area. Obviously we have our play structures there. I'd like to see sidewalks around the perimeter of the playground, again, giving accessibility from the street to the park, and possibly even security fencing just to kind of keep kids from running out into traffic, right? So a lot of these parks, since they're small, it makes sense to put up fencing. It wouldn't, you know, that dollar amount would stay lower than some of these bigger parks. So just for if mom and dad want to take the kids out to the park, you know, we have a walkway, a sidewalk around the park. They can walk, the kids can play. You're not worried about your kid dashing out into the street, you know, because there's some kind of a security perimeter there. So
So how many of the neighborhood parks have lights?
right now, the only ones that have lights, I know that Las Flores del Valle has lights. I know, well, actually, I think they all have at least one AEP security floodlight. One thing that I've been working on with AEP is adding to the other facilities. I know somebody had requested, because AEP got a hold of me about some lights at Las Flores del Valle.
Yes.
So I met AEP out there. It is gonna be doable, so we're gonna add the lights to the poles that were requested. But now that I made that contact, I've already spoken to him about doing the same at the other facilities. So he was supposed to go out, look at the other parks, see where we can add poles to the lights to the existing poles, and if not, then I can request for them to come out and actually install a pole with. The floodlight.
So in my other life, the one that pays my bills, there's always a concern for safety, right? And one light draws people in. No light in other areas draws people in. So everything's important, but I can't speak for everybody, but for me, the lighting is an absolute must.
I agree.
Because what it invites is kids to come together, and then we're providing a place for them to take a young lady or a guy or whatever and go hide somewhere. That is a huge concern for me. So
And these are all LED lighting, right? Correct? I'm sorry.
yeah, no, LED lighting
Yeah.
is what we're going for.
Because I've noticed the illumination is completely, awesome.
It's nice. It's a lot nicer. It's a cleaner light, white light, cool white.
So I just want to make sure that I make my case. Like I said, I can't speak for everybody, right? But and we're certainly not building a consensus. But I just want to make sure that that's one of the priorities, like as soon as possible.
Yeah, so we've started that already, that
Thank you for
conversation.
that.
So they're assessing the other parks.
Awesome.
And then wherever he tells me that the poles aren't there and they're not able to add the lights, I'll make sure that we do the request. And then once I get that submitted, I'll share that with our city manager as well.
Thank you. Go ahead, sir. I'm sorry about that.
No, you're fine, sir. The other thing is just, same thing, accessibility, right, to these playgrounds, to the parks, sidewalks, lighting. Some of the, like I know that at Las Flores, there's a little more, it's a little bigger than some of the other neighborhood parks. I see that there's exercise equipment and stuff like there. I think at that park, we can probably do small half-court basketball, nothing too large, but something that'll also bring the kids over. And I agree with the lights, more so because of how hot it is in the valley. A lot of people aren't out there in the midday, right? They want to go out to the parks in the evenings when it's not as hot. So lighting is definitely
point.
very important. So just to wrap it up, some of the ongoing things that I've been working on, or me and my staff have been working on, and together with some of the other teams from other departments from the city. Again, the master planning at the Dome, some of the stuff that I spoke about. Replenishing the kiddie cushion, which is the mulch, through all the playgrounds because they're all very low. I've already obtained the pricing. Now I just need to find the money.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but I was curious on that. Can we look at the price difference on what it would cost us to put the,
Artificial surfacing.
well, the artificial, but the spongy surface? I think you
Oh,
guys
the
have it in
pour in place?
Harlingen. I think Wesco's got it. Just to do a price comparison. And nothing wrong with the mulch, but the mulch sometimes, you constantly have to replace it. There's a lot that goes with it. And maybe the other way would be maybe a little bit more costly, but the upkeep wouldn't be there. So just want to include that in there.
Yeah, and I've dealt with both poured in place, artificial turf, and definitely I think it's better to go either turf poured in place than mulch, especially on new construction. Some of these other ones, because of the playground, the way the playground was designed, the amount of curve, the size of ribbon curve that they have there, it would take a little more, but I mean, it's definitely doable, right? We'd have to remove what's there and then come back and do it. But I mean, we can look at the pricing, see and do a cost analysis and see what's.
Appreciate that.
The other thing is we have the Urban County Lighting Project, and I have a few pictures on my last slide that I'll share with you. So we're installing 10 light poles there for the area, and then they're installing wall packs on the shade shelter that's over the basketball
Oh,
court.
good.
So I got together with Maureen over at the rec center. He's the director for recreations, just to kind of make sure how they intended to run our city programs, right? So I know that they play soccer for the little ones, and then hopefully now moving forward, we're going to be playing flag football out there as well. So I wanted to make sure that the placement of the lights was not going to interfere with what they had going, and it was going to work for them. There was only 2 lights that we needed to relocate based on what the plan said, but it was very minimal. One thing that I did ask the contractor to do was to do a change order, or give me a price to do a change order, since they are running the electricity and wall packs to the shelter there for the basketball court. I'd like to see them add the conduit and the power all the way to the inside. That way we can come back, purchase lights, and we can light the basketball court. The power's already there. So since they're already doing that work, I figure we kill 2 birds with one stone there. So right now, they've already done all the trenching. They've installed all the conduit. They've poured the footings. Right now, what we're waiting on is we're just waiting on for them to receive the light poles and the hardware, and they'll go out and they'll start doing the installation of the poles.
Hey, I hate to be a pain man, but if you can take pictures.
Oh, yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and let me tell you the reason is the goal, hopefully at some point, was when we remodel some of the buildings, is put pictures in each building, the improvements that we're doing, stuff
Yes,
like
sir.
that.
And for my next presentation, if Mr. Perez lets me do another one anytime soon. 'Cause ya me pasé de tiempo, but if.
No, he's
The
working-
next
no,
one
it's
will
all
be
about
3
money,
minutes.
bro.
Okay.
It's all
okay.
about money,
Yeah,
man.
so
Te estás pasando de
I'll add a lot
dinero.
more pictures on the next one. So.
It's a great
um,
idea.
So we also did, with the help of our new planning director, also, I was able to find, or he was able to help me find some money that was not spent from previous years from Urban County. So we have 49,000 there that we're gonna use to get some park furniture, some benches, some shade structures and stuff like that, that we can add out there to
Great.
some of our parks. The LED lighting, I actually had a second meeting today with a company. They are called First Light Technologies. They're actually out of Canada. I've done business with them in the past. I was a previous assistant director for parks in Harlingen. So I got to see through several of their projects out there, and we did business with them. Their lights are really good. They're very easy to install. We actually installed them with city staff. Once you pour the footing, the install is probably about an hour per light. Very, very easy, very user-friendly. You can operate on apps. So wherever you don't have power, the advancement in LED and solar lights has come a long way. So he did a presentation for me today. So right now what he's working on is the photometrics for HEB and for HEB Park, because I'd like to light the trail and then obviously put lights throughout the park. So if it's an area where we don't have electricity, it makes a lot more sense for us to do LED. So they come with
Just
5-year
to be
warranty.
clear, when you say trail, you're talking about the dome trail
And
for lighting?
HEB, yeah,
Both of
HEB
them.
also, yeah.
Okay, good.
And I would say that any trails that we have, eventually you want to add light to them, right? Again, for the same reason that people encourage people to use them after hours. I've been dealing with Keep Mercedes Beautiful also. So I've been overseeing that board right now. We just obtained 28,000 for a grant that they had out there for enhancement and improvement for the city, beautification. So we're gonna put that money to landscape and improve the city buildings and do some projects within the city parks. So that'll give us about 60 trees that we're gonna be adding along the trails and throughout the parks,
Can I
hopefully.
jump ahead on one item? Mayor? Go down to that swimming pool renovation and the
Whoa.
possibility of the slide and the splash pad.
Yeah, so that's just something that Maureen and I have talked about.
Well,
So,
Oh, wait. So before everybody loses it, the last time we had our meeting, I had talked about what it would cost for us to close down the kiddie pool. Kiddie pool's really not doing anything for us. And using that piping for the splash pad, since it's already connected with the pool, the kiddie pool really doesn't bring in anybody. And I was thinking about the space that it has there. I've seen other cities kind of close down their pool, renovate, and make that a deal, because I know some kids aren't able to get into the pool where you have older kids. So I was asking them about, would it be cost effective to put the splash pad right next to the pool, close off the kiddie pool, and just consider it through a parent's perspective. If you're taking your kid, to the splash pad, you have an older kid, and the older kid's going to go into the pool versus your young kid that's going to be in the splash pad. So I figured that would probably be the best way to do it, because it wouldn't cost us anything. We wouldn't have to redo anything. We'd have to redo most of the the piping. So I just want to make sure that we kind of maybe just look at that.
Yeah,
See if
that's-
that could cost us less.
I have that on there because we do have a meeting scheduled with the gentleman that
I figured
has
Modine,
done
you know,
some of that
be
work
easier.
for that I've worked with in the past.
Like the one in Westico, when I think we had talked about it and I had submitted some paperwork on it.
Because my thought process was anybody that has a younger kid and older kid, well, you can easily, I want to make the splash pad not, you know, anything that you charge. But I figure, well, your 13-year-old is with you, or your 14-year-old, they're not going to be the splash pad. They're going to want to pay the interest to go to the pool. And so you kind of kill two birds with one stone on that one.
Yeah.
Just thinking out loud.
And going back to the cost, it would definitely reduce the cost because you can use the same circulation system that's there for the swimming pool. So we would, just looking at it, Maureen and I walked it a little bit, and just from my personal experience, we would need to expand the cement slab a little bit. But the cost of the plumbing would be a lot less. So, we're gonna get that number just to have that number. You know, one thing that I'd like to do is obviously once we have these projects and we have plans and pricing, we can start going after grant opportunities and hopefully fund some of these projects through grants.
On some of these projects, man, just I have a few things on some of the projects that you brought up. I know we just finished talking about the splash pad, but while we're talking about Collier Park, you'd mentioned in your report that you have 150 parking spaces. Is that correct?
Total throughout the park, it's a rough, and that's, I didn't go count them individually. I counted them on Google Earth, but yeah, that's more or less what I have, but they're scattered throughout the park.
So when we were
starting-
meeting, we were discussing about getting with the organizations that play baseball, maybe holding a calendar. The reason why I bring this up is we have 150 parking spaces, then there's got to be a reason why we can't seem to get parking right. If any of you guys ever been there during the baseball season, the entire street is full of cars parked on both sides, leaving you a narrow space
What
to
happens,
walk
sir,
on.
is that you have parking space on your south at the very beginning of the park, then you have some at the very end of the park, then you have some
True.
along the street. So I think it's people just, it's easier for them to park right on the curb.
No,
and
and
walk
I get
way.
that, but what else happens too, last year is you have an organization that may have maybe, let's say, 4 games, 2 in this field, 2 in this field, and you have 2 fields that are not being occupied. You have parking spaces over there on the south side that can easily facilitate those cars and move traffic that way. I guess what I'm saying is we need to start taking control of the fields, getting with these organizations saying, look, this is no longer your field or your field. And this is what it is. You put it down on the calendar because thankfully enough, we have not had an accident. We have not had an incident. But I parked out there and I can tell you, it gets pretty damn close.
Yeah.
You know, because you're kind of squeezed in. So, I mean, if we can utilize those 150 spaces, that would be great. I mean, if we got to move 2 games to the south side and use those fields so that you can park. And what I mean by the south side is over there on Garza Street, there at the end. What is it, 10th Street, Mondo? Right? You have an entire parking space there. But yet last year you used only fields 1 and 2, 3 and 4 were not used. That's parking that you can easily shift that way and you don't have so much of a crowd. Just something to consider on Collier Park. The other thing I want to get back to as far as HEB Park was I wanted to make sure that upon our meeting that we didn't forget maybe getting with the EDC. You'd mentioned about the Civic Center renovations. I wanted to see if they still had anything for a facade that we can kind of have on the outside facing towards 83. I think we had discussed it the last time. Something kind of in honor of Mercedes. It is our premier park. We do have people that come in from the outside. Be nice to add a little bit of culture to it. I think San Benito's done it. McAllen's doing it right now. And it looks really nice for the deal. And the other thing I just wanted to kind of touch bases on is on the Mercedes Dome. I know we want to make that into our athletic fields and stuff, but we do have to look at parking because right now, I think some of the Taifas go and they practice. You got parents on the walking trail parking their cars. I think we need to have designated parking areas, so let's not forget that.
Oh, yeah,
So
it
that
should
way we
be in
can
there.
salvage those fields and maybe get with those fencing. So just things that you and I had discussed on that one. As far as the neighborhood park, I know I told you, I just wanted to reiterate it. I wanted to see what it would cost for us to put maybe a caliche trail around some of these parks. Saladino Park is one that me and Commissioner Garcia grew up in. I think some of these parks could be cost effective, little walking trail around there. The neighborhood park can go a long way in trying to get neighbors to communicate with each other, kids to start playing with each other. To the mayor's point, get people out there in the parks, enjoying those parks, and maybe start feeling like a community again. So I was just making those notes and just wanted to make sure that we don't lose sight of those things, especially when it comes to to the dome, because that's gonna be big, man. It's gonna be big.
Oh yeah, definitely, and that's included in there too, right? If we're doing the master planning, we definitely need to make sure we have adequate parking.
Perfect. Yes, sir.
Other than that, again, just with the athletic fields at Collier, I spoke a little bit about the ordinances, about the renting. I have been talking to other cities about possibly doing interlock agreements so that we can, have league play with other cities. And then pickleball, I spoke about pickleball also. I know that pickleball's growing a lot. So I've had people approach me about possibly trying to do pickleball, whether it be at the Dome or whether it be at the Old Boys and Girls Club. I've spoken to Maureen about it. So we're going to meet with a couple of people and see if that's something that we can get done. And if so, then we would also have to establish a fee, right, for that same thing, is to where, any city you go to, there's usually, even if it's a $2 fee to get in the door to use the facility, but that's some kind of revenue that we can be bringing in, at least to kind of cover the cost that we're putting out to offer that service. Other than we spoke about the swimming pool, and then the community engagement and the surveying, obviously, right? So, identifying deficiencies within the city of Mercedes parks, that's kind of what I've been doing as far as my report, kind of the stuff that I've been speaking about, the mulch, the broken components and stuff like that. And then inquiring about other health and fitness programs at our facilities that we can offer to the citizens, right, at little to no cost. I know other cities offer all kinds of programs, whether it be, CrossFit, Zumba, water aerobics, stuff like that. I think that'd be good if we could start to offer some of those services also to citizens, right, at little to no cost. So
I think you guys over in Harlingen had a deal where you would have some of those businesses come out to those parks and kind of give free demonstrations or free class on a Tuesday. That's what kind of gets them in there. Real quick, because it falls under Parks and Rec. Maureen, I got a lot of compliments on the adult basketball league. That was awesome, because a lot of those guys would go to McAllen and Harlingen. And they would go pay over there. So a lot of them were real happy that they can start doing it here. So I really want to continue that with the adult leagues and stuff like that. And I want to commend you as well for speaking about making the parks all inclusive. I think that that's something that a lot of parks or a lot of cities are starting to look into. So I applaud you for that, because we want to make sure that every kid can enjoy the park. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. Good work.
thank you.
Before you go, can you touch on the MISD forestry
Oh,
project?
yeah. So, and really quick, these are just some of the pictures of the stuff, sir, that's going on at the Dome with the Urban County. These are the footings, the trenching and stuff like that. A couple of the trainings that we had hosted for the guys. But like Mr. Perez was saying, I traveled to Milwaukee this month, or at the end of last month, I'm sorry, for a forestry grant that Mercedes ISD was awarded. So what they did is they gave this grant money to several municipalities, Mercedes being one of them, FAR, PSJA, McAllen, and Donna, I believe. So what the grant is for is to establish these small forests within the schools. So Mercedes received roughly $3.8 million. I want to say it's about 600,000 per facility. So it was
Let's back up. He's not giving themselves credit. MISD almost lost that money if it wasn't for the city. If it wasn't that they attended the conference, they would have lost the money. So
and
kudos to you guys for staying on top of it. I think the librarian was also very involved in that.
Marisol
And
was very
Marisol,
involved.
so they salvaged them, that all that money could have been lost.
Well done.
So that money, what it's going to cover is for the cost of the construction of these forests in the school, right? So the reason I believe Mercedes has 4 elementaries, if I'm not mistaken. So it's to get them in all the elementaries plus the middle school. So what they would do is that they would install these forests. It's to teach the kids about sustainability, get them out in nature, teach them how to be environmentally friendly. So it covers all the construction and
Funny, we're going back in time. When I was in school, we called them montes.
And they wanted to do out of it.
There was one at every school, and they all had snakes. So that's awesome, man.
so so we went over there to do that. So I'm still working with the organizations from FAR and McAllen and
Awesome.
some of the other municipalities.
Good stuff.
Good news, man. Go ahead, bro.
One comment. First off, thank you, and this is the best 5 minutes you've ever spent with us. Whatever time it took, it was worth it to me, because you know, the feedback I've gotten is gratitude from the community about investing in someone that is wholly focused on parks. And of course, we can't improve parks or advance that part of our community when we're, you know, nine inches underwater, or our streets are falling apart, or our sidewalks are all broken. So, you know, we've been trying hard to kind of get some of the basic sort of things in place, but parks is coming. I that's my opinion. We're getting to a point where we can start, you know, really looking at making some investments in parks, and it's a perfect time to have someone like you there. And we could sit here all night and talk about the needs that we have. They well exceed the means that we have to fill some of these things. But you mentioned a parks plan, and I think what is our parks plan that and the idea that you need to develop that, I think is another very good recommendation, because the challenge is going to be how much bang for the buck can we get, because we sure can't afford to do all the things you're asking or you're mentioning, but we need to know about those things, and we need to sort of prioritize just like we do everything else. And some things take a lot of money and benefit very few people, and some things we can probably are lower hanging fruit that we can do that. So I really look forward to you sort of getting into some of the prioritizations that where we can say, okay, we're going to throw so much at this and see how far we can get. So thank you for your presentation.
I have one statement. That's a hell of a presentation.
Yes, sir.
And I think you opened up our eyes, and I'll be pissing off the city manager here between now and the next year's budget. So thank you very much. That's a hell of a
Mayor,
presentation.
I had a few,
Go ahead, go
I
ahead,
had a few bullets here. I've been sitting here patiently. So just a great assessment, by the way. Just three points that I just wanted to maybe touch base on, going back as far as the splash pad. If you go look at the one in Westaco, they did a great job by the Nature Center, and it was 168,000. It was done by South Texas Pools in La Feria. So that maybe a little side note, you could maybe figure that out, and that's something maybe we can put aside. But I think first, the basic foundation, we gotta stick to the basic foundation as far as now is we've all, I guess, been in agreement with the better lighting. Just better lighting for our parks. We need to improve those lights for now. The maintenance, and also just fresh coat of paint. That would go a long way for now. Two, looking at maybe the asphalt on those basketball courts. I would even like the tennis court style. That would
Surfacing.
the surfacing, that would go a long way. And then my third bullet, I know we have enough room, potentially maybe even doing maybe a dog park, fencing in a little area, adding some things and making a dog park. So just maybe some, I just want to add
And
those
that-
three bullets to
Those are
it.
going back to Commissioner said about low hanging fruit, right? Those are just the cost of the amenities, which is not as much, as it would be. And if we can actually establish the area and slowly start to implement components and build it out, right? So as we go. So definitely I'll put that on my list as well.
Thank you.
Job, sir.
Thank you.
Good
job.
job.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I have item number 7A, B, and C.
Mayor, make a motion to approve items 7A, B, and C.
And,
Forgo the final readings on B and C.
Alright. Oh, I'm sorry, and I missed D. Approval of second final reading
And D.
regarding title.
And D, and forgo the final reading of those ordinances as well.
I have a motion by Commissioner Martinez. Do I have a second? Second. Second by Commissioner Garcia. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving on to item 8, city manager comments, RFPs for Dakota Street.
Well, I did that on purpose. We got some customers here in the audience that might be interested in Dakota. And they're
Carlos
not
Armido reading
paying
his
attention
phone.
right now.
Hello?
We're working on Dakota, sir.
Dakota Street. Dakota Street here.
He's here for something else. Anyway, I just wanted to let you know we're going out for RFPs on those. Both finishing the city hall walls and floors and the Dakota Street, which is already programmed. Wanted to let you know about it, that it's coming. It's gonna happen.
Where is, the remaining 10th Street? Where's that at?
It's a sore subject.
That's our subject, okay.
And we're gonna
Put
discuss
Dakota before 10th.
executive session.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we have also, RFP for City Hall floors and walls?
Correct. Obviously, we're trying to wrap up. They're about to finish the roof. There are a couple of things that they were still working on the ACs. Obviously, they have some trays or something that they found were rusted out. They didn't want to just put the AC back in place and finish it off with the roof being done. They wanted to do everything right, so we had to do a small change order to get it done, so we don't have to go back and redo it in 6 to 12 months.
Okay.
Perfect. Any questions? We're on to action item number 9. Present, discuss, consider possible take action regarding public hearing to create a tax increment reinvestment zone number 2. And that's item I, approval of ordinance 2024-22, creating tax increment reinvestment zone number 2, City of Mercedes, making all the findings as required by Chapter 311 Texas Tax Code and set forth within the ordinance documented attached herein.
So Mayor and Commissioner, as you're aware, we've been working on potential development for single-family homes on the west side, on the side of Westlaco. Got some gentlemen here representing the project. Bill's been working on the TERS. He's a known TERS expert. Well, we're gonna test him also in the city of Mercedes, hopefully. We got an engineer here that's got obviously invested interest in the project. He apparently has done several projects throughout the county that he wants to show us how good his streets are compared to the regular streets we have in most developments. So, Bill, if you'd like to come and just preface, a little bit about how far along we are and how the discussions, the details, we've gone back and forth. There was a couple of changes came in at the very end and really was to accommodate time, the time it would take for the paying back of the reinvestment process.
Sure. Mr. Pettis, Mayor, members of the commission. I would suggest, before I begin my comments, given that we do have a public hearing
Yes.
posted, that we go ahead and open it up. I'll make the presentation, and if there's any comments from the rest of the public, we'll have taken care of
Sure.
statutory obligation.
Okay, so I'll open up right now the public hearing. It'll be 3 minutes or the length of your presentation, sir. Either way,
I'll try to do 3
if
or
you can.
6.
If not, go ahead.
or 6. Thank you very much. We're here tonight to speak specifically to the statutory requirement and satisfy it so that the commission could consider an ordinance to create the reinvestment zone. This is the next step in the process that we began with you about 7 or so weeks ago when we came before you and received favorable consideration on the resolution indicating support for this. We've done a lot of work in the course of the last several weeks to quantify things so that we could go ahead and prepare the plan. There is a preliminary project plan and reinvestment zone financing plan that's been prepped for this. It's required by the statute anytime a governing body creates a reinvestment zone. And the purpose of the document basically is to talk about who's doing it, what's proposed in the reinvestment zone, what the costs are, and how those costs are going to be financed, in short. It also has technical components associated with making the required statutory findings so that you can legitimize the creation of the zone once you consider that option. And of course, it has a financing component part of it that speaks to the specific costs associated with what the reinvestment zone would finance, as well as estimates of the revenues that the reinvestment zone would generate over time to essentially cover those costs. Generally, TERSs are used as a means by which to catalyze tax-based expansion and stimulate economic development. They come in all forms and shapes. This one very specifically is a residential development reinvestment zone, but it's not unusual to see them used for industrial development, mixed use, where you have commercial and residential. Sometimes it could be suburban revitalization. It could be shopping mall redevelopments, you name it. I've even seen them used for medical facilities, as well as partnerships with public schools to do educational facilities as well. But this particular reinvestment zone, it's proposed, zone number 2, basically covers infrastructure costs associated with the development of the acreage proposed inside the reinvestment zone. Mr. Jacinto Garza, owner of San Jacinto Enterprises, and Joao Olivares, owner of Olivares Organization LLC, are here and can speak to any specific questions you might have for them specifically, but they're going to partner in the development of the proposed acreage to develop what would be 650 units of family housing. The vast majority of that is single family, but there are proposed 4 multifamilies in the second phase, each of which will be, I believe it's 11 units. It's total of 40, total of 42. So it'd be 44 units. And the preparation for the next phase in development, assuming there's a partnership that can be struck with the governing bodies, would be to take and engineer everything that needs to be done and get all the specs fully formed, so that when plats are submitted to the city, everything is quantified, everything is estimated properly. We do have preliminary estimates in this document. We think they're fairly good, but they are preliminary, and we do anticipate that the costs embedded in this plan will, in all likelihood, be a little bit higher. We also firmly believe that the estimates of revenue that the reinvestment zone will generate will definitely be higher, because we've used very conservative assumptions. But in essence, we've got two parcels of land that are currently outside of the city's boundary, but within the city's ETJ. The statute does authorize municipalities to create TERSs in their ETJs, sometimes for the county to participate independently. In this case, as we presented to you during our last presentation to the commission, we would petition the city for annexation, provided there is a partnership that can be struck with the use of this tool. We are estimating at this point in time a total of $538 million will be the estimated value growth in this reinvestment zone once development is done and once the reinvestment zone actually plays out. Current base value in the two parcels is a little over $3 million today. So that's substantial growth that we expect to see. Honestly, that's not unusual for a tool like this. It's one of the reasons why we advocate to governmental entities that they use them, because they're very effective, and they do create the opportunity for partnership with other taxing jurisdictions. At this point in time, there have been some preliminary discussions with the county about their participation in the zone, but we haven't really engaged fully in that process, because we didn't want to take that conversation too far without the existence of the zone. It becomes academic at one point, and we wanted to go in with firm understanding that there was already a partnership established with the city before we begin those dialogues. But we believe that we will be successful and prevail in seeking and garnering county support for this reinvestment zone. But there's still some work to be done there. As proposed, we are recommending that this participation rates for this reinvestment zone be 100% for the city, with a split of 70-30, where the 70% of the future revenues go into the TERS pot, 30% goes into the city's general fund. It's not quite consistent with what you have in INS versus M&O, but we ask for a little bit of additional consideration relative to taking a piece of your INS rate to help pencil the numbers out, because the costs associated with the build out are fairly substantial. We are also proposing 50% with tax rate in this plan be applicable to the county. Not because we want less, but because that is consistent and comports with the tourist policy that the county adopted, I want to say about 8 years ago. They will go above 50% in some instances, either by a waiver of their policy and or if you end up with over 500 acres of territory. We are definitely less than that at this point, so we're only eligible to ask for 50%, but that's basically what we would propose. There is a section in here related to TERS bonds. You know, TERS, the increment financing basically is by definition a debt facility mechanism. It's typically used as a matter to draw private capital in to do development where that capital doesn't exist. And then use of the reinvestment of the revenues that come in that are spun off by the reinvestment zone to, on an as-you-go basis, pay the developer back for a certain period of time until the revenues are healthy enough, typically 6 or 7 years, where you can then bond finance the repayments to the developer and be a little bit more aggressive in repaying those dollars. And so there is language in this plan that says that indebtedness is contemplated. It's not guaranteed. None of that would happen without the reinvestment zone having to come back to the governing body and seek and get permission to do bonds. We have, my firm, Calderon Economic Development Strategies, did prepare the financial feasibility analysis on the reinvestment zone to ascertain whether there would be enough revenues to make this financially viable and feasible for the developer partnership to borrow the money and feel fairly certain that there would be a substantial, if not all of that money, repaid. I've also put in this plan, you'll note on page 6, there is a reference to chapter 380. I don't know if the municipalities ever used that tool, but the language was added to chapter 311 that governs the use of TERS to allow for 380 powers to be granted. And because this is a residential development, the likelihood of using it for that purpose is not great, but I put it in here very specifically to have it as a placeholder, if you will, because when we knock on the county's door and say, please come in and participate, anticipating that they will, this plan will be part of that interlocal agreement. And I want the language in here in the event there is a change to the development plan. That way we wouldn't have to go back to the county and seek an amendment to this document. But otherwise, the revenues that are put in the TERS budget applicable to this particular authorization would likely just shift to another cost item. But it's in there just in case you were wondering why. On pages 7 and 8, reference table 1, which are the reimbursable costs for the TERS. Both subdivisions, subdivision 12 and subdivision 16, in their development will incur slightly different costs, totaling the list of infrastructure categories. We have $28.7 million for subdivision 12 and $20.8 million for subdivision 16. You'll note that the TERS total estimated right now is $95.2 million. The reason for that largely has to do with insertion of an estimated $40 million that would be interest carry or interest on an as-you-go basis as the revenues are building, which would be paid to the developer for their debt. And then the vast majority of it would be utilized should bonds be sold, because you've got to have that in your budget. So the numbers look rather large, but as far as the actual infrastructure that would be reimbursed to the developer, the hard costs are just under $50 million, which is not inconsistent with the size of the land to be developed. There are sections, pages 9 through 11, that basically make the statutory findings. Chapter 311 says you've got to, as a city, make sure that the proposed uses are consistent with the statute, that we're not changing any zoning ordinances, that we're not relocating any people without providing the means by which to do that we have estimated costs, et cetera. There are several of those in the statute that are embedded that the ordinance that you would consider after this hearing, as you stated, that you have made the findings and you found that this TERS is indeed eligible pursuant to the statutory language. And then there are the meets and bounds, which is the legal description that we provided to the city for the public posting. I will state for the hearing record that there was more than 7 days of public notice. The requirement by the statute is at least 7 days. I believe we ended up with about 12 or 13 total, based on the date that it was posted. The city secretary did have copies of these maps, as well as the boundary descriptions in files, should anybody have desired to come in here and take a look at it. The plan does have several maps, one boundary, one aerial, and one land use, that basically define the area to be developed from various perspectives. And then the last schedules, you'll find 2 pages, schedules A and B, that basically quantify the build-out timeframe. We are, with the reinvestment zone that would created in 2024, I wouldn't see any increment in all likelihood until 2027 or 2028 in all likelihood. When we came to you initially, we had suggested that the reinvestment zone should at minimum be 30 years. In order for the numbers to pencil out, we've added 4 years to the zone life, specifically so that we would get a full 30 years of revenue. And I will say that that'll be a discussion point that we'll have with the county, because their county typically doesn't do more than 30. But we'll pitch it in that fashion, because we believe that given these costs and the expense of rendering raw land able to be developed in a very Class A fashion, it takes a lot of money, and so we're going to ask them to consider doing that. Lastly, in the last page of the project plan, you have revenue estimates, and you'll note if you have it before you, you'll see a build out of 8 years. We end up estimated at $226 million at the end of the build out, and the schedule grows the market value of everything that's on the ground at a 3.5% annual growth. That's actually fairly conservative based on what we've been seeing here in the Valley of late. And believe it or not, I've got counties where I've got projects ongoing where we're seeing upwards of 20% per year. And so as jurisdictions end up with more federal mandates and less federal money, CADs have been helping with the valuation process by generating enough value such that it keeps you more or less in the ball game. But we do expect that at 3.5%, totaling, as I mentioned earlier, $538 million at the end of the TERS life, we fully believe that we're probably 20% under, if not more, where we'll actually end up. And we could easily bump the numbers up, but I've advocated to jurisdictions that I've worked in, as well as to clients, that it's best to keep it conservative, because you don't
Let's
want.
just hope our chief appraiser is not listening to your presentation today.
I hope it's not being recorded or published. But that speaks to the issue of the valuation. As I mentioned, we've got the city at 70% estimated. Total city collections over the life of the reinvestment zone are estimated at $77 million. The zone contribution would be 54.2, and the city would retain 23.2 in that same time period. County at 50%. Would render a contribution of 29.3 million. So all said and done, it's 83.5. With
Excuse me, could those numbers be negotiated or not?
No.
They're set?
Yeah.
as far as the county goes.
Well, the city taking,
Once created, the issue of changing, it really becomes a function of whether there's already an obligation approved or not.
It's
And
just closer to a loan than
So-
anything.
So the flip side, Commissioner Howell, Dr. Howell, is if the city takes more, you have to consider extending the life of the tourist to be able to pay it back.
right,
The idea is that we both want it to get paid as soon as possible.
Right.
That's the goal.
sure.
So that we try to work the numbers as closely as we could, where the city still is getting something. Consider the fact also they're coming from outside city limits, it's self-annexing.
Certainly,
Yeah, so if they didn't self-annex, the city was never gonna see that.
right.
So
I
that's
just,
a plus.
I'll let you finish and then I just had to.
No, that's fine, that's fine. That's pretty much it as far as the numbers go. We expect, to see great things happen with this tool. And, we're hopeful that the commission will consider, supporting it and approving the ordinance tonight, because we do need to get on with discussions with the county. And I'll get into next steps, I guess, after we deal with questions.
What was the life, what's the life of the term, or
34 years.
34 years
34
now?
years.
So,
The-
I mean, I'm all for, as far as investment zones, I'm glad we're looking into it. I've been big on expanding these zones,
Yes, sir.
and a lot of them, or some of them, as far as like near the outlet, I know they fall into green zones, which are in real estate, what's called those green zones are an investment properties. But did y'all have a sample or something that we can see as far as the model of what you have? Because that's huge as well.
If I may,
I'm all for the affordable housing, but
well, this is not affordable housing.
Yeah, it's not affordable housing.
First of all, I'd like to thank you guys for allowing us to come before you. And Mayor, thank you. This is Joe Olivares. I'm Jacinto Garza. We hired Bill Calderon, obviously because of his expertise in developing tours, successful tours. You all are familiar with, I mean, he's done many in the valley, but specifically like South Sheridan. With this. And so that's why we hired him, because he's done a lot of them. Dan Dill, Maricela, we've been working closely with the mayor and Albert in presenting this project. Actually, you all saw, do you all know the subdivisions where we're gonna build them?
yes.
Here on Mile 2?
Yep.
Okay, and we were originally proposing to sell it to Wesico, you know, because they did that industrial development. But mayor would not allow that, neither would Albert. And so we sold part of that land for that industrial development. And so the best use of the land was to work together and see how we could utilize some of the Wesico sewer and in one area, and then on the other subdivision, connect to your current lift station that's there by the school. So that's the concept. And then as far as the subdivision, you say, I'd like to take a look at what you, I was just telling Albert, and I just took Bill over there. Me and Joe built a subdivision on Mile 10. The lots minimum size are 8,000 square feet. We are not proposing these matchbox subdivisions. We are not proposing even the small streets that are currently being built. We just built one. I would like for you all to go take a look at them. It would be a house that I would be more than willing to live in.
What's the cost? What's the cost of the
The-
housing?
We just, we built 200 a year and a half ago, we built subdivision, 200 lots. They were sold within 8 months. They are on Mile 10. It's named San Jacinto number 10. And the homes are selling on average for 350,000 right now. And some are larger, some are smaller, but that's minimum the
2-car garage?
two-car garage, 37-foot back-to-back streets, sidewalks, everything is
Running
under
water,
underground
plumbing,
lighting.
everything.
Y'all have a little park?
We did not put a park. What we did was we put sidewalks on the perimeter, sidewalks inside. lighting. We wanted to put an area where all the kids could come and be picked up by the schools, but Westaco School said no, they didn't want that because now I guess they compete with private schools.
What's the square footage of the homes?
Of the homes.
Well, they
property
average
is
about
8,000.
1,700 square feet up to 2,400.
They can fit big ones because of the 8,000 square
So-
foot.
They're nice homes.
The intent is, and, look, Bill built, wasn't familiar with it, but they started Shareland, subdivision down there. This subdivision we built is, even better. I think it's. But, so we want to, build in this area without, HOAs, just good subdivisions so that we can grow like the.
But with
west
city,
side of the
but
town.
with city ordinances.
Yes,
Yes,
yes, definitely.
City limits, inside
Definitely.
city limits.
Actually, the road that we built, I mean, remember, we're from, my office is in Mercedes. It's here in the LNG complex. I rent from my brother, ¿verdad? Pablo and Mo there. And, Joe is here in Westaco. We're only, skip and hop away. Pero, you know, we live here and we constantly see, and I worked a lot with the West, and the county's helped them a lot in their TERS. Bill was managing them there for a mission with Beth Salinas and them, and so we want to do the same thing over here on this side.
Yeah, no, the presentation was good. I would just kind of, like I said, I just want to just double check on the housing. I'm all for that. And I was just looking at some of the numbers. I'm always big on being on the winning end, obviously. But I think Albert, Mayor, some of the commission, I guess, took a look at the numbers. I mean, that 23.2, I would like a little bit on this way, but if it's already set, like Mayor said, as far as the terms, I think either way, it's a win-win. I make a motion to approve.
So, I need to close the hearing, yeah, I need to close the hearing, but I think, I mean, all of it sounded good. I mean, it's something that we'd be foolish not to, right? But I think one of the issues are, go ahead, Jacinto, 'cause I gotta say something.
One more thing is that when I say we, you, myself, the commissioner, because I build roads. Actually, that Mount Two was part of the design that we did, and it was financed by Congressman Hinojosa. But we are struggling to find more grant, roadway funding for the Mount Two. So as part of what we're proposing is that we need to, we did several applications with Commissioner Fuentes, but to no success. So we need to overlay, the Mount Two, because it is a county road right now. And we're gonna do voluntary annexation and annex into the city, but we put it in there so that we can do an overlay and maintain it, because these roads, you don't overlay them every 7 to 10 years, and we got a problem. So I know that that's gonna be needed. We put it in as part of the infrastructure that we need to do. Westaco, as you know, they're on mile 9, they didn't go up to mile 2.5. So we need to reconstruct that area. Mile 2.5 west doesn't even exist, hasn't existed. So, we need to, that part of the proposal is it being reconstructed, utilize these funds to reconstruct Mile 2.5. So, because, you know, I do roadways, those are part of what needs to be done, and then turned over to the city, brand new, and then.
That's what I was gonna explain on the foolish part, is that we're not only getting a subdivision, but you're getting a subdivision where nobody wants to drive up to that kind of subdivision on a crappy road. So they know that, we know that, and the whole idea is that we share in the cost of fixing those roads to where they need to be. So it benefits everybody in that area, and then that's probably the biggest complaints I get is 2.5 mile 9. So it's a bigger project than that.
We are gonna need your help. The county has they fix it at 50%, if they give us 50%.
Yeah.
But I'd like I've already visited with Commissioner Fuente, and I visited with the judge and the commissioners, but we're gonna go back. And it would be nice to get a little bit more money so that instead of 50, because we're gonna have to build Mile 2.5. It is a county road, and, you know, if we don't use it with the developer, added value of the taxes, you know, it's hard to be able to do it with, just 50% for them, because it is a county road.
So what I was gonna tell you was that I think the leading, this is oversimplification, but this is it. The leading statement when you talk to the county, obviously you already have, with my conversation with Isaac is that we're going to annex that area. That's their biggest concern. So that's that's already taken care of. The other one is the increase, and I think Isaac will probably be doing the presentation on their behalf, right, Solomana?
Well, when we go there, we'll see how.
You, how it plays out? Okay, so what I'm proposing is that we meet with him as well here pretty quickly and see about,
It's important, Mayor, Commissioners, that you have our back. the
Yeah.
county,
no, I know.
there's almost like the county is divided, the east and the west, and the west prospered subdivisions. As you can see, Sharyland, Mission, Edinburgh.
And they have several TERs over there,
Yeah.
which,
I did.
and so when we go there, they've made comments, well, it hasn't been done for residential, and we're going like, oh, I mean.
Yes, it has.
You can name them all the subdivisions that they have.
At 70%, not 50, by the way, but who's counting?
Yeah, they did get even a better deal.
Actually, yeah,
Los Lagos,
Yeah.
one of yours?
Oh, that's 100%.
didn't do that.
McAllen has their own TERs,
Great.
100% back in the day.
Start one, the Queen City.
It is what it is,
Get it
man.
going.
Well, I can't speak for anybody, but I've already been working it. I heard that you have. I already heard that. So, now it's just a matter of closing the hearing and then we'll, move on from here. But I whatever we can do to help out.
Absolutely.
Thank you, guys. And don't forget to tell Mo, because every time I see him, I cover my face because of Dakota Street. So tell him that you heard it today.
That's right.
Yeah, so it is 7:46 PM. The hearing is now closed without any opposition. Thank you so much, gentlemen, ma'am. Thank you for coming out. Okay, moving on to item B.
No, 9A1?
I'm sorry, what?
There's a motion on the table.
9A1.
No.
No, there's no motion.
9A1,
It's just a public hearing.
What was the?
Okay, I'm
there's-
sorry, 9A1, my bad, you're right. 9AI, approval of ordinance 2024-22, creating tax increment reinvestment zone, 2, City of Mercedes, making all the findings that are required by Chapter 311 Texas Tax Code, and as set forth within the ordinance documentation attached herein.
Mayor, make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Martinez, second by Commissioner Howell. I know he was already on
It was,
that. Any
it
discussion?
was Garcia.
Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Garcia. Any discussion?
Nope.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Item B, approval of variances request by
Mayor,
Marisol.
Mayor, forgive me if I might just interrupt for 30 seconds.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, first and foremost, for your support. It means so much to us. It's critical. It's so expensive to do these projects. And the partnership with the city truly is needed, and we're very gracious and grateful for your support. We're trying to move this as expeditedly as we can. We're going to come back to you here in short order and ask for a resolution.
Yeah, resolution,
Doing the board appointments. We're going to ask you for a resolution consenting to the creation of a local government corporation. And we're going to ask you to approve an ordinance taking the plan that I just went through and finalizing it so that we have those things done. And that'll get us enough to push our way through the
Is there
first
is there a drop dead date that it needs to be done by?
No, sir. I just, what I'm hoping to do is try to get all the critical components essentially done between now and the end of January as we engage the county so that we're on,
So then we
on
can
our
put it-
timeline.
Just for all fairness to our staff, we could put it down for the last meeting of the year, and with the understanding, Jocelyn, that if we can't get it done, we move it to the very next one. Okay?
Very good. Thank you so
And that way it'll
much.
be continuous until we get it done.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. All right,
Mr. Mayor, I grew up on mile 2. My parents live out there. My brother lives out there. I told her, look out your picture window, Mom, things fixing to change. I don't know how she feels about that, but I think it's great that y'all have thought enough of our city to take the risk, and we're happy to take it with you.
moving on to item B, approval of variance request by Mirasol subdivision.
Mayor, make a motion to approve.
I have a motion by Commissioner Martinez. Do I have a second? Hang on a second, I got it. Second by Commissioner Garcia, discussion, and where are we? I misunderstood that.
Item 9B.
Trying to get the engineer and he didn't make it, so he could go over the variances, which are important to you guys.
Yeah,
The variances were approved by the zoning committee, but that's where you all had a discussion with him. We went back to the drawing board. He came back. He wanted to be insistent on following the variances he requested, or he would be asking to be.
de-annexed.
I
So
don't
did
know.
we,
So you wanna
They're in the
ETJ, no?
TJ, but they want to be out if they're not.
Okay, so at the end of the day, the variances were for, I remember, so we can go over them again.
So.
With them here or not, we,
Here they are. It's on the sizing, and that's where the engineer can speak about, cul-de-sacs, they're not as big, cutting some corners.
okay,
And he
so
could speak a little more about what drawbacks there would be from the engineering standpoint.
engineer on our side, engineer on their
Our
side.
side,
And where's our engineer?
he's not here.
Posada.
To make it Posadas?
Yeah,
Okay, so then the approval is for
To-
the
to go to
variances,
a-
but if
to-
he's not here, if one of the engineers is not here to approve the variances, then.
Well, what I wanted our engineer is
mean-
to discuss what the drawbacks are of those.
Well, he
variances.
already told them to us. I think,
He already, I mean, we know what they are, and
So I think the question at hand here is do we want to allow this if they're inside the city or not? I think it's the simplest thing.
Right.
And then the secondary to that, right? Sometimes you get into a discussion, maybe even heated sometimes, but at the end of the day, somebody's got to give in, either them or us. So the issue now becomes, do we have a subdivision with zero restrictions if they stay outside the city? Or if we follow through with what the planning and zoning did and have limited restrictions
Mhm.
on them? I think that's at the core of this.
Right.
I think I know what I'd rather do, but I mean, it needs to be all of us discussing this. I think the issue was, we wanted a second exit, right?
Yes.
Which would have chewed up some of their deal.
Right.
If they're outside, they're not gonna have a second exit.
Right.
The other one was, mobile homes. I think if they, inside the city, we can control somewhat the mobile homes. Outside, there's no control.
Correct.
That's what's at
Stay.
stake here.
Right.
So I don't want to say it's a bluff because I think we really wanted where we were at. So it wasn't like we were bluffing them, but at the end of the day, that's a conundrum we're in. It seems to me they're going to build no matter what. So we got to decide what do we want in our UTJ? Something that we could potentially get annexed later, or something that we're not going to want to
I'm
annex.
gonna want it because of the
Yeah.
condition it's in.
Correct.
I mean, whatever the will of the commission, man, like I said, I'm gonna save mine for the end after you guys if you all wanna discuss it.
Well, the mayor, the variances they were requesting was the minimum front lot at 50 feet, which I don't think is a big deal, especially since you've got so many cul-de-sacs and
Right.
I've lived in lots where there's, not very much on the front, and that, to me, that shouldn't be a deal breaker. And then there's setback, and what I remember from the discussion there was that's not a big deal. It didn't seem to be a big deal to our fire marshal. He said
Right.
there's ways around that as well, and that's especially in the area that it's at. And there was no voluntary annexation. Well, guess what? If they don't annex, we've just lost all control of
Right.
everything. And cul-de-sac length, that doesn't seem like a deal breaker to me. And I don't know about this escrow to mile 2.5 East Road. I don't remember a whole lot about that because I think we got mired in some of the other sort of details. I don't know that we ever really talked about that at length, but
I think that was
I mean, I know what that's about, but I
Yeah,
just
that
don't
was,
know what-
we're gonna tell them to put aside money for the day that we,
have to expand that.
yeah. I mean,
Now, they gain from tapping into our sewer lines and all that, but my understanding was he intended to do all of the curbs and the gutters and the storm and the streets, and I don't know about the sidewalks. I can't remember whether he planned to do that, but uh, you know, for somebody that's not even in the city limits, that would seem to be meeting us halfway.
Okay.
That's just my feeling.
Now's the time to speak up, guys. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were done.
No, I mean, I'd much rather have them in than out. And if they're gonna be out with those kinds of, well, if he's out, he can do whatever he wants.
I'm in agreement with that. I'd rather have them in than out.
All right, so I think the only thing left is to call a vote. Anybody else have a discussion?
Yeah, I don't want to impede the growth of Mercedes, but that's why we have our policies in place. But if you're saying they're gonna build either way, so it's either,
Because they're not in the city limits.
Yeah, they're not in the city. So there'll
and
be
then
zero.
if we allow them, then at least we have some control, is that of some of the restrictions, at least we can
Because they could
keep
pretty
in
much
place.
just say, well, the hell with you.
I just don't want another situation, and I love the people at Indian Hills. I know that's a little different, but you know, I know the future. At one point, they wanted, it was supposed to be all this and that, and it went, developers kind of took advantage, and I don't want that.
And it was for the same reason. They stayed out in the county
Yeah.
and there was no restrictions to
Well,
it.
maybe this is showing good faith
Now-
that we're willing to
I think
give a little bit.
in all fairness to them, they're not here, but in all fairness to them, we negotiated to this point. It wasn't like this is what they came up with. Initially, they were just gonna build whatever type of mobile home park that they were gonna do with. So this came with some negotiations already. So it's not like it was their first thing. They actually got to this point. So anyway, I'll go ahead. If anybody's got any others, go ahead.
Does this proposal when he says no voluntary annexation, does this place them in the city limits then? Is this an approval of them coming in? That's just an approval of the plat. So they're outside.
Yes.
Okay. So if at some point in the future we decide, no, we still have that option.
Oh, okay, I misunderstood. So what is I thought it was either annexation or, I'm sorry,
Approval. this
either
is for
approval of this, so
Variances requested for the.
if they're gonna be annexed, correct?
The variances say no voluntary
No,
annexation.
No,
So
no.
So they want to stay out.
They want to stay out.
Services.
They want to stay out, and if we wanted to impose anything anymore on them, they wanted to undo themselves from our ETJ also.
Other than what's here.
Yes.
So,
They undo themselves from the E ETJ.
Right.
yeah.
no, not from the ETJ,
Well, they've already sent a request and a petition for release from the ETJ.
from the
So what the
ETJ.
hell are they want then? I mean, if that's going to be the way it goes, I mean,
Maybe, I guess I misunderstood they requested the variances. But right now, when they're in the ETJ, so now this poses another one, but along the same lines. If they're in the ETJ, we can require some roads,
Yes.
electricity,
Yes.
some plumbing,
Yes.
not everything, but
Streets and
a lot
sidewalks.
more than if they're not.
Right.
If they're outside the ETJ, they can put
Completely.
caliche roads,
Yes.
whatever they want.
Correct.
All right,
so
I stand-
where's the best option here for all sides considered?
my personal, I said I was saving till the end. Does anybody else have anything else?
So
My
would
personal-
would this be considered city of Mercedes?
No,
Yeah.
but,
No,
but,
okay,
but
'cause-
if they're ETJ, they're extraterritorial, right?
You can
Part
impose
of the city, we can impose
streets and sidewalks.
streets, sidewalks, lighting.
Some drainage?
Oh, the drainage is a must. That's through the county.
Okay.
That's through the drainage district. If they don't, then they can do
Whatever they
whatever.
want?
Yes.
Well, it kind of seems like that's what they're wanting, right? It's pretty much, we'll
Well,
give you a little and then just leave us alone.
At first, they wanted to be annexed with these variances. Now, that's how this all happened. They said,
No, they
annex
didn't
me in
want
these
that.
variants, and now it's like, well, we chose not to take we didn't vote on the variances. So we told them no on the variances at the end of the day. So now it's either we keep them in the ETJ where we can have some control.
Well, can we approve it subject to them remaining in the ETJ?
Yeah.
That's an option.
Yeah.
If you want out, we're out.
So I don't know. All right, so we have a,
Let
would
me-
you like
let me-
to amend your,
Yeah, let me rescind my vote and
can you resend,
Or my-
who did
my
the
deal here.
second? You did, so, okay.
something you want to make that one as far as.
Oh, okay, well, I mean, then I'll make, I would move that we, well, let me find it here, approve the variances requested by Mirasol subdivision, subject to them remaining in the ETJ.
I have a motion by Commissioner Saldana, second by Commissioner Garcia. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving on to item C, approval of grant reimbursement for historically designated property, 300 South Texas, 344 West Third Street.
Mr. Mayor, I move approval of this grant reimbursement.
Second.
I have a motion by Dr. Saldana, second by Commissioner Martinez. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item D, 9D, approval of agreement for temporary closure of state right-of-way for the South Texas International Marathon.
Mayor, make a motion to approve item D and I. Approval resolution 2024-35 for temporary closure of state right away.
I'll second.
All right, I have a motion, a second on both, on D, I. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carry. Bids and contract, we have approval to select a firm for fire hydrant installation services.
Two broken fire hydrants are $55,000. I
Not
learned
more.
today.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, Marty, Perez.
Good
Will they
evening.
break on their own or you run
No,
over
no, no,
them?
let me explain to you there.
Okay.
Once again, November sixth, the city went out for bids for 13 hydrants, okay? We received two bids,
13
one from
hydrants.
the company 5125 and the other one from Hart, Texas. On November sixth, the city's review committee, consisting of Mr. Javier Campos, city secretary, Ms. Jocelyn Castillo, assistant city manager PR Avila, and I reviewed both bids. We determined that Hart, Texas bid only 11 hydrants due to the reason that they submitted a request for the addresses for these hydrants. We submitted a response for only 11 hydrants. We contacted Hart, Texas to see if they can hold their price because they bid an individual price of $4,525 per hydrant. When we submitted the response of the 11 hydrants, shortly after that, two other hydrants malfunctioned due to one of them being a malfunctioning issue. The other one wasn't involved in a car accident. So that brought it up to 13. So, and we didn't include them in their response. So we contacted Hart, Texas. They're willing to hold their price, which brings their total of $58,825 to replace all 13 hydrants. The other company, 5125, submitted a bid of $97,500
Or 11,
or 13 hydrants.
or 13, okay.
13.
What are they made of?
So staff is recommending that we award this to Hart, Texas.
I have a recommendation on the floor.
Make a motion, Mayor.
Motion by Commissioner Martinez, second by Dr. Howell. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign.
Were they
Motion
the same-
carries.
Were they the same type of hydrants?
Yes, sir, that is correct. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 11, present, discuss, consider, possibly take action regarding the postpone, oh, I'm sorry, already did that one. Moving on to item 12, monthly departmental reports. We have Public Works. Ruben?
Sorry?
Monthly
Your
report, sir.
forte?
Public Works, City Secretary,
I
HR,
was-
Planning, Recreation, IT, Library, Police, and Fire.
The TERS contract was all consuming for me. Sorry. I will do my best to make up for it next month.
All right, man. Yeah, wait.
Oh, no, I want to hear.
Oh, okay. You got anything to present?
got pictures.
How much we love pictures.
Good.
Yes.
Yeah, man, that's the picture that we, it was 17th Street and Florida Street, we had work order 156739. We had a major water break, and you can see it was pretty nasty. We had 3 gentlemen working at this facility. We had the line collapsed. We removed a broken piece of 20 to 24 feet of street. We replaced an 80-inch pipe that slid out and replaced the construction of the valve. So this was a very time-consuming effort from our utilities department. We added two barrels, as they're called, and on the second slide, if you would, you can see the next one. You can see where the break right before the coupling. So it was, there you go. It was just a nasty break. And once again, it was very time-consuming. Give the guys a lot of credit for their effort. And I'm glad we got it.
Are
fixed
these
in that
those
timely manner.
asbestos lines, the old
That is
8
correct.
inch or
That's
9
correct.
inch or whatever?
Yes, it's an asbestos line.
So I don't know. I know that, and actually this was Albert's idea sometime back, and it was actually turned out to be a great idea where we have contracts in place for situations just like this. And I know these are very costly, but something like that where the line just kept breaking and breaking and breaking wouldn't just. I know it's expensive, but man, I've been real impressed since I saw a presentation on the bursting of pipes. And I don't do your job. I don't know it. But the way they explained it, I mean, this is like a perfect scenario for that, where instead of tearing up a bunch of road, I don't know if it would be, I don't know if we've ever calculated it out. It would be more cost effective just to burst out whatever, like, I don't know how much of that line is left, but it's going to have a problem again.
Yes, sir. It's quite a bit. There's a lot left.
And these things are, I don't
Very
know, what,
expensive.
30 years?
If not
30.
more, and these companies are very expensive. I mean, we have several cases in town where we got coupling after coupling after coupling. It's just,
And that in of itself is a problem because the coupling, while the coupling's strong, where it's connected, that's another problem.
yes, indeed. So it's,
I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm just, talking out my ear or what, but I think that after we spend, I think this was almost a 18-hour job, if I'm not mistaken, because that's about when the
just
call
about, yes,
stopped.
sir. That is correct.
That's when the calls stopped coming in. And then that plus the man hours that were in those 18 hours, and then the amount that it costs to get it done anyway. I'm just wondering, and I don't know, like the bursting thing, I don't know enough about it. Is that something where they just show up and it gets done, or is it like?
This one was done, well, luckily we closed the valves. I mean, it was time. We didn't have the parts in-house.
Yeah, it became
they
an
were on
issue.
order. So we got them here locally from City of Donna. Thank
No,
God.
I the job that you all did was commendable, right? I'm seriously, I went out there myself. It was a mess. What I'm saying is, it's not the job that you did. It's that, did we leave it better than when we fixed what busted because we're staying with the same line, as opposed to spending money and fixing a chunk of it to at least to where it's still good. I don't know if
The
they can
proper
see
way,
that.
Mayor, honestly, would be to replace the whole entire line.
No, I understand that, but isn't that's what that burst is? I'm saying the right thing. Bursting, is that
Yeah.
right? Isn't that what that does?
Yes.
I would just ask that you check. I don't know.
get
I'm
it
good.
to
I'm
the-
good. Yeah,
I
get the
just-
engineers to explain it. Maybe.
Like on Illinois between 10th and 14th, that line has ruptured
So many times.
5 or 6 times,
At least.
in there. And there's a tipping point. I think it's what you're getting at, Mayor, is that where we just say, you know what, it's time to push that Chevy off a cliff. And you just good money after bad.
Toyota.
And I would agree with
that
Mr. Pettis.
Chevy
We need to
off
get
the
an
cliff,
engineer
yep.
involved to determine a more cost-effective
Yeah.
way to maybe replace the whole entire line. or-
Yeah, and labor and time,
Correct,
the
yes, sir,
time
indeed.
and the
outage.
yeah, and the inconvenience that it is.
To our
But
residents.
I don't know what those are. I mean, when when there's a break, obviously you got to go in there and fix it. But you fix it, and then 10 feet down you fix it again, and 10 feet down you fix it again.
Never ending.
And
Just do the whole line.
And I don't know if there's a formula, magic matrix, or some kind of a way that we just say, I know there's, money is the other thing too, but at what point you say, okay, guys, we've had to repair this line. This is an area that is subject to breakage, and we need to fix this and this, and here's the highest priority and all that, and
Well,
we're
we're
just
doing
gonna
the
start
same-
replacing those as
We're replacing the water services in Tangerine, and that's been one of them situations.
Okay.
that It's just, breaking.
Oh,
the
yeah,
roots.
that's the one that y'all went out.
Yeah.
There- Like 3 leaks in a month,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
so
they're all
we're just-
different. They
Correct.
kept
We're
breaking
Right,
replacing
and
all
we
the
still have
services.
what I think is, in my limited knowledge, a leaky valve there on the corner of Illinois and 10th, because the birds love it, and they have for the last couple of months. Because it just no matter how hot the winter days get, they're still got little water they can go bathe in and drink in that little corner, and it hasn't rained in weeks. So there's something down there. I don't,
Yeah. Well, anyway, I think what we're saying here isn't so much correcting what y'all did as far
Right.
as maybe saying, open up our arms to an alternative that may help you out. The money's being spent anyway,
That is true. Yes, sir.
right? So I'm not trying to tell you
It's
I
good work.
understand.
to spend more money. What I'm saying
yeah,
is,
spend
we're already spending money, might as well
Building
do.
the parks.
Parks guy's gone. Is he gone yet?
Yeah, we need the money for the parks.
He took,
Taking all his money.
yeah, right?
Yeah, the
Indeed.
parks guy spent it all already.
Spend it, bro.
Go ahead, man. I'm sorry, Tom.
It's okay, sir. It's all
I
good.
didn't mean to squirrel this
He's
whole
got more
thing.
pictures.
Yeah, if you go to the next slide, please, Michael. So once again, it was a long process. You can see the guys working to late hours of the evening, so it was just,
Yeah,
Or
I
not-
took him tacos.
yeah, exactly. Thank you, Mr. Perez. Appreciate that, sir. So, I believe in your next page, you can see the couplings that were replaced to handle those. So we put an asbestos line with the PVC, and you can see the both couplings, varillés on each side. So, it was time consuming, guys.
Okay, move on to the next one.
That was a T, man.
Let it go.
So here's a manhole, that we've been doing, that was a sewer break on Dawson Road. If you would, Michael. And so we're replacing a sewer stop. Here you see, we removed 3 manholes, to find the clog. We vacuumed 1 sewer line. We checked 3 manholes and replaced 2 rings and donuts. So once again, anytime you have a sewer backup, it's just, finding a needle in the haystack, find out where that backup is at. And sometimes you get lucky, you find it in the first manhole. Sometimes you gotta go downstream and open up other manholes. As you can see, these manholes have been stuck, binded together for many years. H2S causes this binding, so as we're going, opening these manholes, next page, Michael, we're also replacing them as we go. Good. So once again, it's just a time-consuming process. Next page, Michael. Yeah, you can see, some of them we do cement, some of them we just use it with cold mix. We go back at a later date, take out the cold mix and replace them with cement. Next page. Okay, these were some of the manholes on Capasao Terrace. Even though I'm very appreciative, Precinct 1, did the street, as they were shaving the street, some of the manholes got damaged, which is bound to happen.
Beat up in the
Exactly,
meanwhile.
it's bound to happen. So we got notified by Precinct 1, so we added some rings to them, raised the manholes, and you guys passed by Beach and Ash, looks pretty decent now. And second page, next page, you can see the before and after. It's just, once you get the grader going by and grading the street, they get torn out pretty bad. You see a before and after picture.
Even though they're brand new.
Yes, sir, indeed. Okay, next page, we had a local vendor come by and do some training to our utilities guys on the different types of manholes. The one here particularly, we met this gentleman at the TML. These type of manholes have a breather on top of them, releases H2S periodically, which is pretty good. Get rid of the hydrogen sulfide, which decreases the chances of it getting rusted, decaying the street and cement.
Well, and that valve switches over when there's water on the outside, so it closes so the water won't go into the system.
This is the guy you met or what?
Yeah.
Yes, sir, that's
TML.
That's right.
That's
We were
right.
doing something.
So this was, next page, please, Mike. This was a very lengthy training, and I'm glad we got our utilities guys involved. They were pretty impressed with the presentation. Once again, just showing the guys new technology.
Leave us a couple free ones or not?
Or did we just
Fortunately,
take
he
them
did,
from the
sir.
truck?
No?
No, sir, unfortunately.
Oh, we need to negotiate.
As a matter of fact, I take that back. He gave us one. He did.
I would have asked for 10.
Exactly. Yeah. So, yeah,
Sell them to other cities.
yeah, well, we got one free one out of that. So
There you
it's-
go.
I'm glad.
Algo.
Next department. Here, we got 927 Klosner. I'm sure you're all familiar with this little patch job. So, we got 2 new homes in this subdivision that, they got new, sewer lines. So, the contractor took it upon himself. He did the cutout, cut quite a bit off. Anyway, we're very grateful he did that work, and we did the, overlay on this section of street here. So we get the before, and then you get the after pictures in the next box. So it looks very decent. Good job to the guys in streets. And there you can see we're using the hot box, our brand new hot box, putting it to good use. Yes, sir.
Alright.
Definitely. We also did some concrete pouring, the corner of 6th and Colorado. They removed an inlet, took quite a bit of work. It had been broken for quite some time. This frame had to be done, on site, which was, I'm very pleased with the guys doing the cement work. It's, learning as we go, you know, it's a new project every day. So they're doing the framing job. They removed the, outer casing. They, did the framing. The next page slide, you can see the nice work that they did, the before and after. So put plenty of rebar for reinforcement. So, the inlet looks very well now. Looks very good.
And that's the drain right there, right?
That is an inlet,
Storm
yes, sir.
drain.
This picture that you see here, this is the, right here by the library, that was beat up for quite some time as well. It got torn up,
Rushing to get to city.
replaced the little curb there, looks, trying to beautify the little curbs here around town, so. The repair job looked very, very nice indeed. We had 3 guys, Chris, this is his first job that he did as a cement, I guess, shaper, former. He also was assisted by Becky, Ricardo and Dion. Once again, Becky, Ricardo and Dion assisted very well. And, we're trying to get them trained, you know, to help out in other different projects here at the city. Cross-training. This one here was 206 Mistletoe. We had a water break. We had to go back and fix the cement, the sidewalk there. So this was due to a water break. And
And
once
it's even?
again, I'm
Does it
sorry,
go like that, like that? It's even across?
even across, yes, sir. So it's once again getting the getting the water breaks and taking care of wherever they break, we got to take care of the cement. So I'm glad they made your crosswalk here. So looks pretty nice here on Mistletoe. Curb scraping, once again, 1300 block, South Vermont. We had a work order 157016. Did some major curb scraping, weed eating, sprayed Roundup on this area. Here you see a before picture of what it looked like before. And then next slide, please, Michael. You know, a little picture of after.
Is this the one on 14th that I called you on for Travis over there?
Yes, sir.
Man, thank you for that. A lot of the kids weren't using the sidewalks
Yes.
because of the grass, so I appreciate that you guys went out there and kind of covered it. Thank you for that.
So it looks very well. Also, for me, Morales cleaned the gully right behind on Collier Park, so it was torn up really.
That's very noticeable, by the way. That's gonna mean a lot.
Yes, sir, indeed. So it looks fantastic compared to what it looked like before. Once again, if I may, also the Fermin also did the cleaning out here on the canal by De Vida. It looks very nice.
Very good.
Indeed. We still need to pick up the brush. That's still pending, but he cleaned it up very well. So I'm sure you guys can see it from the frontage on the highway.
Oh, that's on the north side?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Oh, DeVita. Oh, yeah.
So we're not done yet. We're not done yet, but we're
Everybody's asking me we're building out there. So we're just cleaning up.
waiting to find out.
I can see now.
Coming soon.
They're like,
I
wow.
didn't know there was land there. They thought it was a
Coming
one-
soon.
it was a
I
Exactly.
mean, so-
Gentlemen, thank you so much.
No, thank you.
That work,
Excellent. Very
that
good.
work over, by the way, that work over behind Mama Maria's, also fantastic work out there and just, I know we got a couple of calls as to why we were doing it, like always, but I don't think people realize the impact that's gonna have on water coming all the way from almost Business 83, which has been a big problem for us in that area. So, thank you for you guys doing that as well. Good stuff.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anybody else?
We only
Okay.
had 5 minutes.
All right, moving on to executive session. Chapter 551, Texas Government Code, Section 551.071, Section 551.072, deliberation regarding real property, 551.074, personnel matters, Section 551.087, economic development. Do I have a motion to go into
Mayor,
executive?
make a motion to go to executive.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Martinez, second by Commissioner Garcia. All those in favor say aye. Aye, all opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We're adjourned. I'm sorry, not adjourned. We are in executive session. It's 8:20 PM. All right, it's 9:14 PM. I call this meeting back into regular session. We have item 14 in open session. We have no action. I'm moving on to item 15. To have a motion for adjournment.
Mayor, make a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Commissioner Martinez. To have a second by Commissioner Garcia. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. We're adjourned. 9:14 PM.